Hey guys, what's going on? Thank you so much for joining us on another quick production tip that we're doing every Thursday with Vandalism. My name is Shanahan. This week we're going to go over Showtek and Major Lazer's new track, Believer. I'm not going to do the sound designing on this one. We're going to do it a little differently and speed you guys up because these style sounds that are actually used by Showtek and Major Lazer, we actually have available in our sound set. Melbourne Bounce for Serum. It's actually on our website right now, so you guys can grab this sound set if you want to get a hold of these style sounds that we're going to go over today. They're really popular and fat and really thick sounds, and you can get them right out of the box from our again from our Melbourne Bounce sound set. So scan over there if you got a moment to check that out. Also, before I begin, if you guys want to check our in-depth tutorials, for anyone that's unaware, we have 20 to 25 minute tutorials on our Vandalism website that goes way more in depth with mixing, mastering, sound design, and so on. So make sure you take the time to check that out also. But for today, we're going to get a little bit of a sound like this. So of course we started out with the MIDI, and I'm going to dress this up a little bit to enhance it a little bit, you could say, put a little processing. But again, going through the presets, these are all available in the Melbourne Bounce pack. What I did to speed things up, when you're going to open these presets, and you guys can see the preset names here, they're the exact ones in our sound set if you check those out. But when you open them up, they're going to sound a slight different. The main thing that I changed was the release time on the envelope section, which you'll see here. We tightened it up because we don't want the notes overhanging and the release time to be too long. They're more of a stabby, quick hitting MIDI note. So we tightened up the release, and then the effects section, I took off the reverb, and I also played around with a couple of octaves to change those slightly to make it a little bit lower. So there's your first layer. It kind of has like a horn sound to it. If you listen carefully, it's got that kind of natural horn sound, but it also is synthy at the same time. On those lower notes, you kind of feel like a horn coming through. The Bounce Addict is going to be a little bit more of the Showtek character sound. And you can see on that also I shut off the reverb, and the same idea with the envelope. That's going to be the main difference when you guys are opening up the initial preset. And then the last one is that really straightforward kind of Showtek sounding saw sound, you could say. And once again, the same thing from the preset, took out the reverb. I changed the octave a little bit and tightened up the release time so the notes hit quickly. Now to play them all together, to make them kind of feel a little bit more processed and kind of closer to the Believer track sound. I'm going to mix these a little bit. I want this to come down. I want the Showtek sounding one to be really in the front, and I want the saw to kind of complement it. And you'll notice in these presets, all of them, what's really important is our noise oscillator section. If you turn this off, the sounds lose that crisp 10 to 15K range. So make sure you guys play around with that. Sometimes this noise level might be a little bit too much for you, just a taste thing. So play around the noise oscillator to get that to your liking. But to process this a little more, what I'm going to do is bus these all over to bus 1. So they're all grouped over here. And now I'm going to throw on the OTT multi-band compressor from Xfer. This is an amazing plugin. For anyone that's unaware, I will say you're missing out. And on top of it, it's a free plugin. I believe you can grab it over at Splice. I'm a big believer of Splice, and I think you can just grab this off the website if you remember. Pretty easy to grab. But this is like it's such a simple compressor. It's a multi-band, as you can see, but the depth basically is how much you're applying, kind of like what you're doing with a threshold and a standard compressor. The time is going to be basically taking your attack and your release from your standard compressor and kind of putting it in one. Basically how much you're applying for attack and how much it's going to take if you're going longer for the release. So you can see what I mean. And then input output gain, really simple, but what it does is give a little bit of that glued effect to all your layers. So it's going to start out here. We're going to bring it back a little bit. We don't need too much depth, and you'll see the major difference. So to me, that's a huge difference of the overall body of all the layers is now kind of sounding a little bit more glued together and more of a unified sound, and there's not too much separation. They're now being kind of glued in by this multiband. So all these sounds are pretty dry, which is what we did on when we changed the presets. I wanted to put this main layer here, I'm going to use as a reverb send. So if you actually go to your bus, and we'll open this up and give this a little bit of send. And on bus 2, I'm going to throw on the Valhalla reverb just to give one of these presets to have a little bit of air in the back of the mix and just have a little bit more of an open feel with the reverb. So you could apply reverb to all of them. Myself as a producer, it's kind of a taste thing. I prefer to locate one or two of my favorite of sounds out of all the layers and kind of push the reverb out of that one, just so there's not too much reverb stacking up on top of each other, because you can get a little bit too much reflection and too much reverb going on in one spot. So I'm just going to EQ out that reverb slightly here. So you can hear a reverb track. I always like EQing out reverb. If it's something you're not really doing in your productions, I highly recommend it. To go to each layer now, we can just simply throw on our Q2 and start balancing them out a little bit as far as bass, mid, highs, and all that good stuff. If you want to throw this on real quick, again, just to balance them out. Now we can kind of see everything at once. So again, the reaction, no, actually the bounce static one being our main reverb layer, you could say, and that main Showtek. I want to push that a little bit more. And you can see these two, reaction and this one, actually have a good amount of bass going on in this 200 range. You want to push one or the other. I don't want to push both. They'll start to kind of pile up there in that section of the layers. So I'm going to take the 200 out of this one and apply it to this one. All right, guys, yeah, that's kind of a quick little step into getting that somewhat similar Showtek sound. You know, we could spend hours on this, filling out the rest of the song, obviously, and that's going to make this stuff sound a lot fuller, you know, with bass underneath it, percussions, and effects, and so on. So definitely try these few little tricks out. Again, the presets are located in our Melbourne Bounce for Serum, which is available on our Vandalism website right now. So take the time to go over to the website, check out what we've got for material, and we'll see you guys next week. And remember, it's every Thursday. So take care and have a good one.